Because oftentimes people just see where you are today and they don't realize the journey that you've been on. You're seeing me at the end of a 25-year journey, most of which was dog shit and horrible, and full of failure, self-doubt, uncertainty, not knowing the answers to things, and wanting so badly to be successful and to have that life and to, basically get to where I am now. It was most of my adult life I've spent being lost and having no idea how to get there. But one thing that I did learn was this thing of always invest in yourself first. If somebody is willing to teach you something, is willing to organize an event, is willing to say, look, $1,000 and come and hang out at this thing or do whatever, I've always invested in me. But the big difference between me and a lot of other people is I always went in with a double mindset. I'm going to put in 5 or 10 grand. I need to at least double my money coming out. And over the years, as I've gotten older, I've said I need 10x out of it. If I'm going to go and invest 10 grand, it's not the 10 grand, it's the time. A lot of the things that I went to in the last few years were in the US. To go out to the US and to get into those rooms that I wanted to get into took time. So I'm going to tell you 2 quick stories I'll tell you 3 actually, because I've got time. One was when I first moved to the United States. I had come out of a very, very difficult period in Australia. 2008 hit. I had just taken my company onto the stock exchange in a small public listing. I thought I was all set. I had about $10 million worth of shares in that company. Those shares went to nothing. I was in escrow and I spent the next 1.5 years working for free trying to save the company. And it pretty much sent me broke in my mid-30s. I was back to ground zero and had to start again. I eventually sold that piece of equity to a high net worth Australian guy who exited his company for millions of dollars. He bought me out. I moved to the United States and I moved into this co-sharing office in a company called WeWork. Now WeWork became a poster child, a multi-billion-dollar company. It was invested in by SoftBank. Anyway, they in the end were opening one of these co-working spaces somewhere in the world every 3 days. At their peak, I think they were valued at $50 billion. But I was their first California tenant when they only had 7 outlets globally. They ended up with hundreds of them globally. And so I rented this little space. It was $300 US a month when they were first starting out. And I got a phone call one day in the office, and it was one of the founders, a guy called Adam Newman, who is very famous if you Google him now for all the wrong reasons. But Adam basically, he was one of the founders. He became a multi-billionaire. And he rang me and said, Adam, I hear you're one of our first clients in Los Angeles. Would you like to come to a party in New York? We're putting on a 4-day event. It's in upstate New York. If you fly over, we'll give you access to the thing for free. And I was like so busy at the early stages of starting my animation company. It was just me. I didn't have a salesperson. I was just getting a Google guy to do my ads. I was taking all the calls. I was on my own trying to get this thing going. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go. And Adam wasn't a billionaire at this stage. He was a startup guy. He had 7 little offices. He just got a couple of $1 million in funding. And interestingly, out of that situation, the people I met was amazing. But I jumped on a plane, went over to upstate New York. They picked us up in a coach on the doorstep of the National History Museum in Manhattan, and we took a bus ride up into upstate New York into a place called the Adirondacks. When I got there, we were playing volleyball. I hung out with Adam and a few of the other tenants. There's probably about 200 of us there, and we were all the WeWork tenants in the world at that time out of Los Angeles. It was, when I say a couple hundred, I mean from Los Angeles and other places. And we were playing volleyball. And Adam said, hey guys, come and sit down. I've got a friend, one of our investors has just landed, this little seaplane landed, and this guy came ashore in board shorts. They said, this is Kevin Plank, the founder of Under Armour, and he was worth about $6 billion at that moment. And we got to sit around the campfire from a metre these guys away, and I got to sit there and ask this guy questions about how he built Under Armour and how that company began and became the multi-billion-dollar success story it is. From there, I went home. I became friends with the people either side of me, people who are both startup hustlers. One of them's now got a $50 million company traded on the ASX. Another guy's now retired in his early 30s in South America. He's from LA, got out for the taxes, made a fortune out of a company called Soothe.com. He was the founder of that. But I said yes to everything. I put myself in these rooms, and I would, at expense, right? Either an expense of time or an expense of money. One of the other ones I went to was an event put on also in upstate New York by a guy called Yannick Silver. And I was desperately trying to figure out, I wanted to build an 8-figure software company, a company worth 8 figures. And at that time, ZonGuru was me and 3 Indians that I would fucking happily kill. Because they'd driven me to the edge of my sanity developing this thing. And I ended up replacing them with an Eastern European crew that built it. But there was literally just me trying to figure this thing out, try to build this Amazon software. And I was spending $10,000 a month on these 3 Indian guys that were building it. And it was horrible and it wasn't working well. And we had 10 customers. My gross income from ZonGuru was $400 a month. This was before I met John. And I got this email, come to this event. I thought, that's the last thing I need to do, but I'm in America, I'm going to go over. I went to this event, and Yannick Silver said, who was the guy running the event, all right, rip out a piece of paper, because there is multi-millionaires in this room who are in all kinds of industries. Open this bit of paper, write on this bit of paper who you want to meet, what your goal is. I said, I want to build an 8-figure software company. I want to meet somebody who could teach me that. So he had to make it into a paper plane and throw it into the room. I threw this paper plane in the room, and they said, somebody will pick it up who knows somebody who'll be able to help you with that. Well, my airplane got handed to this guy called Dan Martell. Dan Martell had a company called Clarity.fm, sold it for millions of dollars, and today runs one of the best private high-end platinum-style mentoring groups for people building SaaS software companies. And Dan and I became friends when we went on board with John. When I recruited John to run ZonGuru, Dan's been mentoring us to grow ZonGuru to where it is today. And we're just about to take on $3 million of funding at a $28 million valuation for that company. Now, that came from me, first of all, putting myself in the way of success, going to America, going all in on that crazy, ambitious dream of saying, I'm not here to fuck around. I am going to go to America and I'm going to win. And that's where I discovered Amazon. It's where I built my animation company. It's where I met Dan Martell. It's where I met Raj, who you're going to meet in a minute, and a whole bunch of people who are still very near and dear in my life. Some of them are now billionaires. Some of them are multi-millionaires, 100 millionaires, and so on, from putting myself in these rooms. And Dan was critical in mentoring us to get us to where we are today, where only 17% of our new business today comes from Reliable Education customers. It comes from all the other activities that we now do around the world with ZonGuru and our partnership that's just about to open in China, a whole bunch of other stuff that we haven't really talked about publicly. The last one I want to tell you about is another invitation which I went to, which was an event that was being put on in Boulder in Colorado. And again, it was $6,000 to go to this thing, and I thought, I don't want to go, but I should go. I want to meet people. I want to grow my network. So I bought the ticket, and Boulder is in the middle of America. It's a freaking hour drive from the airport to get to the event. When I got to the event, unbeknownst to me, Elon Musk's brother, Kimball, was there as a surprise guest speaker, as was, and you had to go to the thing. On the first night, they had a cocktail thing, and I sit down, and this Indian guy sitting next to me. And I said, oh, what's your name? He said, I'm Raj Jaina. I said, hey, Raj, I'm Adam. What do you do? He says, I'm an Amazon seller. I said, no shit, so am I. And we became friends. He was just starting out. I'd just started out. And we became mates. And I said, dude, I'm starting this up, and I'm doing this. And I also I've just started selling an Amazon course back home in Australia. And he said, oh, what do you need? Who do you need to meet? And I said, oh, we need a really good YouTube guy. He says, you've got to talk to this fellow over here. And he introduced me to this guy who went on to help us do tens of millions of dollars in sales of our programs, because I was in the room and I was there, intentionally there to build relationships. And we've had the same guy running our traffic for all those years, who's a secret weapon of ours that we don't give out to anybody, who just happened to be there at the same time. How did I get to meet Kimball? They said, you got to pay, I think it was $2,000. This is how uncrowded it is for committed people. $2,000, and you can sit down and have dinner with Kimball, and the $2,000 goes to his kids' charity, because his passion, Kimball's a billionaire in his own right, a couple of times over, from investing in Elon's companies. At that time, he'd be worth a lot more now because of where Tesla stock has gone. But Kimbal said, $2,000 a seat, and I'll take you to one of my restaurants downtown, because he has a farm-to-table restaurants where he has them all over America. And his passion is building restaurants where local farmers sell directly to his restaurants. And his charity is in teaching kids where food comes from. And he said, teaching kids to grow and then pull the carrots out of the ground and watching their face when they go, oh my God, I grew that, and they pull the carrot out and lights them up. Kimbal's a very different beast to Elon. He's a lovely, lovely guy. So Raj and I both forked over the $2,000, and then we got to sit and have dinner with Kimbal and hang out with him for a night. And what that did to my psychology, to listen to him tell us about him and Elon as children and how the way that they think about the world blew my mind, and it's not changed. It shaped me in a different way because I bought access to 1 hour of Kimbal's time, and then I couldn't believe it. But at the end of the night, he said, I'll tell you what, let's do an auction and see how much we can get for a hike with me, because I love hiking, and I'll go for a hike with whoever wins the auction. And the highest bid, this is how uncompetitive it is, right? For people who get the value of exposure to the right mind, it was $2,000, right? And then he said, does anybody else wants to go for a walk for $2,000? You're in as well. So I put up the money and had a chance to do that as well. This is what it means to be intentional. It's not being a spectator, it's going with intention. And the underutilization of opportunity is just extraordinary in our community. And I don't mean taking the piss, and we've seen people take the piss in our community, right? And take advantage, right? And these are people that just lack integrity. But I mean strategically build real relationships and play the long game with those relationships. And those people who do that build relationships and add value over time, are the ones that win. If you enjoyed that video, please hit the subscribe button. We will send you angels' blessings from all over the world. We really appreciate it. Hit the subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.